Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The time when he was working with the Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, digging a ditch around Madinah Munawarrah so that the kuffar won't be able to attack the Muslims in Madinah Munawarrah. As they had gathered all of their armies and all of their power to destroy Islam at that time from the surface of the earth. And the only way Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een found to protect themselves was to dig huge ditches around Madinah Munawarrah so these armies won't be able to get in the city of Medina. During that process, there was a huge rock that no one was able to break. So they asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam what to do about it. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam went himself, and as he hit the rock with whatever they had, a hammer or an axe, some sparks came out. Looking at these sparks, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, within these sparks I have seen the castles of Qaisar and Kisra, the superpowers of the time. And this means that my ummah will conquer those places. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have promised me that we will be ruling that part of the world. People are hungry. They are scared to death. And at that time, when they are not able to protect themselves just against the kuffar of Quraysh and the people surrounding, the Prophet of Allah alayhi salatu wassalam is talking about conquering the superpowers of the time. To the munafiqeen, it was unbelievable. And they started making fun of it. But it did not take too long before the very same people that were laughing at it, they saw Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een sitting in those castles, and Umar radiyallahu anhu sitting in the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and ruling all of that part of the world. It was the miracle of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to inform them at that time of something that seemed to be totally impossible. And you keep on planning for hundreds of years and may not achieve what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam informed Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een at that time, and they achieved it within 20 years. When they conquered those two superpowers, Roman and the Persian empires, of course that was during the time of Al-Khulafa al-Rashidun. This also tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is proving to the ummah that these khulafa were the true successors of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The promises that were made to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam are being fulfilled on the hands of Al-Khulafa al-Rashidun. To tell us that that promise, when it is being fulfilled on the hands of these khulafa, is just like it being fulfilled on the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So the promises made to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are being fulfilled by Al-Khulafa al-Rashidun. During the time of Umar radiyallahu anhu, when they went to Iran, the Persia of that time, and the superpower of the time, and they conquered that land, the king ran away, taking his maids, his wives, his cooks, and all the people that will give him, according to his understanding, some comfort of the life, singers and musicians, and he took all of those people. The only people he forgot to take with him was his own family members, which means his children, because they were not too important for him. So used to the luxury of the life, that at that critical time, the only thing that came to his mind to take with were all of these things. He's taking 1,000 chefs with him so that they can keep on preparing the meal for him. 1,000 of them. And he forgets 3 of his daughters in the castle. And what was next? Of course, very understandable that these 3 daughters were captured by the Muslims, by Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in. Not to go away from the topic, and we don't even have time, but if we look at that situation, when because of the luxuries of the life, he handed over his daughters, according to his understanding, to his enemies, taking all the luxuries of the life with him and forgetting his own children, selling his children for the luxuries of the life. We will find a similar type of situation is taking place nowadays also, that for the luxuries of the life, we will just hand over our children to anyone in the world. That you take care of my children because I'm too busy getting all of these things in my life. We will sell the iman of our children. We will give up the deen of our children, the education of our children for the very same luxury of the life. When he left and these 3 girls were captured, one of them was given to Muhammad bin Abu Bakr, the son of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu. The second was given to Abdullah bin Umar radiyallahu anhu, the son of Umar bin al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. And the third was given to Hussein bin Ali radiyallahu anhu, the son of Ali radiyallahu anhu. To make the long story short, and the time is very short, in the year 38 of Hijrah, Hussein radiyallahu anhu, the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, son of Fatima and Ali radiyallahu anhuma, in the year 38 of Hijrah, Hussein radiyallahu anhu had a son from that girl. And he named him after his father's name, which means Ali. So now this boy's name was Ali ibn Hussein ibn Ali radiyallahu anhu. His grandfather from the father's side is Ali radiyallahu anhu, and from the mother's side is King Yazdajird, the king of the superpower of that time, the Persian Empire. We can see that it was for their own good and for the good of these girls that their father left them, that finally they recorded some history in the Islam by their virtuousness, by accepting the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, practicing it in such a way, because people of higher qualities, those who are raised in those places, they have abilities, they have good qualities, they like cleanliness and all of these things. When they see the beauty of Islam, they love it. So Hussein radiyallahu anhu had this son Ali from that girl, and this Ali, under the supervision of his father and mother, as he was raised in that house, he turned out to be such a virtuous person that they started calling him Zain Abideen. And I'm sure most of you have heard the name of Imam Zain Abideen, Rahimahullah. This is who Zain Abideen was. Because of his ibadah, Imam Malik Rahimahullah says, as Abu Nu'aym al-Asfahani Rahimahullah have narrated in Hilyat al-Awliya, that Imam Zain al-Abideen used to perform 1,000 rak'ah nafil every day in his life. This is what Imam Malik Rahimahullah narrates. Zain al-Abideen, because of the way he used to perform the ibadah, which means the beauty of the worshippers. It's a time of Tabi'een, when you have great Tabi'een. You have people like Imam Ibn Sirin, like Hassan al-Basri, like many others, and you can name them. There are so many of them. In those days, to get the title of Zain al-Abideen wasn't an easy task. And of course, he did not go to ask for it, and there was no voting for it. But إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ سَيَجْعَلُ لَهُمُ الرَّحْمَنُ وُدًّا. Those who believe in Allah and perform the good deeds, Allah put the love in the hearts of the people, which means in the hearts of virtuous people. And virtuous people started calling him Zain al-Abideen, the beauty of the Abideen, of the worshippers. When he used to perform salah, he used to stand in such a way before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he won't know what's going around him in the world. One day, as he's performing the salah, and there was a fire in the house, all the people ran out and people are shouting at him and they're putting out the fire. He didn't know about nothing until he finished the salah. After he was done with the salah, they asked him that what stopped you from leaving the salah, breaking your salah at that time? It was allowed even by Islam. You can't put your life into that type of hardship, and you can't just lose your life because of this. Imam Zain al-Abideen Rahimahullah replied, had I known that there was a fire, I would have broke my salah. I didn't know about it. So they said, how come you didn't know about it? All the people were shouting, they are calling at you. He said, yes, that might be there, that might be true. But the thing is, I was thinking about the fire of Akhirah, and the fire of Akhirah kept me from thinking about the fire of this dunya. When he used to perform wudu, at the time of performing wudu, he would start shaking up. People asked him, what happens to you during wudu? He says, I'm preparing to stand before Rabbul Alameen. At the time of Hajj, everyone is saying labbaik, he's quiet. So they asked him, how can you are not saying labbaik? Imam Zain al-Abideen replied, my fear is, I would say labbaik and Allah will tell me, la labbaik, no, I don't want to accept you, don't come to me. Then what I would do? This is the fear of Allah. And this fear comes because of the love these people have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not just running away from Him, because of the love. A person who's performing so many salah and so much ibadah that he's called Zain al-Abideen, the beauty of all the worshippers, this is his status with the fear of Allah. Unfortunately, what happens is, and this is for us a very important point for us to understand and remember, as we start doing little bit of ibadah, and especially as soon as we get into nawafil and few rak'ahs of tahajjud for a month or two, a person says, you know, I'm not doing anything for the fear of Allah. Subhanallah, that fear is true, it has to be there. Why not? It has to be there. Otherwise, there would be nothing to stop the person from committing sin. And this is why we find people, on one hand they are doing a lot of nafil ibadah, on the other hand the person is committing a lot of sins. Why? No fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only hope, and only hope. That hope is making him do one side the ibadah, on the other side he's keep on committing sins. That Allah is Ghafurur Rahim, which is totally wrong. Along with his ibadah.